These villages shouldn't exist. They're built in places where no human settlement should survive. Clinging to cliffs, floating above clouds, hidden in valleys that don't appear on any satellite image. Yet families call these impossible places home. Welcome to the secret villages that GPS can't find. Places so remote, so hidden that even the digital world has given up trying to locate them. Today, you'll witness communities that shouldn't exist, yet have thrived for centuries in the world's most impossible locations. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about human resilience. Our first impossible village sits 2,600 feet above the ground, carved directly into a vertical cliff face in China's remote mountains. This is Guoliang Village, a place that GPS systems simply ignore because satellites can't believe what they're seeing. For over 700 years, families have lived in houses that seem to defy gravity itself. But here's what makes it truly impossible. The only way to reach this village is through a tunnel carved by hand through solid rock. No machinery, no modern tools, just determination that lasted 5 years. Meet Mrs. Chen, whose family has lived here for 23 generations. Her kitchen window overlooks a 2,000-foot drop. Her children learned to walk on ledges that would terrify mountain climbers.
People ask how we survive here, she tells me through a translator. But we don't just survive, we thrive. This cliff is not our prison, it's our protection. The outside world changes, but we remain.
Every morning at 5 a.m., the cliff comes alive. Smoke rises from chimneys built into rock faces. Children's laughter echoes off stone walls. Farmers tend to impossibly steep terrace gardens that cling to the mountain face. The architecture here defies modern engineering. Homes are carved directly into the rock, using the mountain itself as walls, floors, and ceilings. Rainwater is collected in stone channels that funnel into underground cisterns. Even the village square is simply a wider ledge with a protective stone barrier. But perhaps most remarkable are the children. Born into this vertical world, they move across narrow ledges with the confidence of mountain goats. Their playground is a cliff face that would challenge expert rock climbers. This village was founded in the 13th century by families fleeing war. They climbed these cliffs seeking temporary refuge and never left. What started as a hiding place became home. What began as survival became a way of life. As night falls, tiny lights begin to glow along the cliff face like stars that fell to earth and decided to stay. Tomorrow I'll show you a village that exists only when the clouds part. At 12,000 feet above sea level in Peru's remote Andes, sits a village that exists in the clouds themselves. Choquecancha, a name that means golden fence, is visible only when atmospheric conditions align perfectly. GPS can't track what it can't consistently see. For 200 days a year, this village is completely hidden beneath a thick layer of clouds. When the mist finally clears, it reveals something that shouldn't be possible. A thriving community floating in the sky. Walking through Choquecancha feels like walking on the edge of heaven. Streets end at cloud walls. Houses fade into mist. Children play hide and seek with the sky itself. Carlos has lived here for 67 years. He's one of only 180 permanent residents who call this cloud village home. His daily routine includes something no other farmer in the world experiences: checking if his fields are above or below the cloud line.
The clouds are not weather, Carlos explains, his breath visible in the thin air. They are our calendar, our protection, our privacy. When the clouds come, the outside world disappears. When they clear, we remember we are still part of the earth.
The science behind this phenomenon is as fascinating as the village itself. Unique wind patterns and mountain topology create a microclimate where clouds form and dissipate in patterns that repeat daily. The villagers have learned to read these patterns like a clock. Daily life here requires skills no urban dweller could imagine. Villagers navigate by sound when visibility drops to zero. Children learn to recognize their neighbors by footstep patterns. Adults communicate across cloud-hidden distances using traditional Andean whistling languages. Agriculture at this altitude and constant mist should be impossible. Yet the villagers grow potatoes at elevations where most plants would die. They've developed farming techniques that work with, not against, the clouds. Their potato varieties exist nowhere else on Earth. The weekly market is surreal. Vendors appear and disappear in the mist like ghosts. Transactions happen by feel and trust. Money changes hands between people who can barely see each other. As evening approaches, the village becomes a constellation of lights floating in space. Tomorrow, these lights might be completely hidden. But tonight, they shine like beacons in a sea of clouds. But if you think a village in the clouds is impossible, wait until you see a community that exists inside a mountain. Beneath the rolling hills of Cappadocia, Turkey, lies a village that GPS will never find because it exists entirely underground. Derinkuyu isn't just built into a mountain, it is the mountain. This subterranean village extends 18 levels deep into the earth. Over 20,000 people can live here comfortably in a labyrinth of tunnels, rooms, and chambers carved from solid volcanic rock. The engineering here rivals modern cities. Sophisticated ventilation systems provide fresh air 280 feet underground. Water wells reach impossible depths. Storage chambers preserve food for years. All of this was carved by hand over 1,500 years ago. Mehmet's family has been the keepers of this underground village for 12 generations. He knows every tunnel, every chamber, every secret passage. For him, living underground isn't unusual. It's the most natural thing in the world.
People think we live like moles. Mehmet laughs, his voice echoing off stone walls. But look around. We have churches, schools, kitchens, wine cellars. We have everything the surface world has, plus something they don't. Complete protection from everything above.
This village was carved as protection from invading armies. When enemies approached, entire populations would disappear underground. Entry passages would be sealed with massive stone wheels. The village would simply vanish from the surface world. Today, 3 families still maintain permanent residence here. Their homes are chambers carved from solid rock. Their living rooms are caves. Their gardens are underground chambers with skylights that reach the surface. The most impressive aspect isn't the size, it's the sustainability. This underground village is completely self-sufficient. Air shafts provide ventilation without revealing location. Water systems tap into underground rivers. Food storage areas maintain constant temperature and humidity. But here's the most incredible secret. This village isn't alone. Underground tunnels connect it to other subterranean settlements up to 30 miles away. An entire underground civilization exists beneath Cappadocia. Children here grow up with a unique perspective on the world. Their playground is a 1,500-year-old archaeological marvel. Their hide-and-seek games take place in tunnels that once hid entire populations from invading armies. Emerging from this underground village feels like traveling between worlds. One moment you're in an ancient subterranean city, the next you're standing in an ordinary hillside pasture. No signs mark this location. No GPS coordinates lead here. Yet beneath your feet lies one of humanity's most remarkable achievements. But underground villages are just the beginning. Next, I'll take you to a place where an entire community lives suspended between earth and sky. In the mountains of southwest China, there's a village that exists nowhere but air. Suspended 400 feet above a raging river, connected by bridges that seem too delicate to hold even one person, let alone an entire community. This is Aizhai Village, a community built entirely on bridge infrastructure. Houses, shops, schools, even a small temple, all constructed on platforms suspended between canyon walls. GPS systems list this location as Bridge. They have no category for Bridge Village. The engineering defies logic. Traditional bamboo and rope bridges have been reinforced and expanded to support permanent structures. Houses are built directly onto bridge platforms. Gardens grow in boxes suspended over 400-foot drops. Li Wei's grandfather built the first permanent structure on these bridges 80 years ago. 3 generations later, his family still calls this suspended community home. They're not just residents. They're the architects, engineers, and maintenance crew for their own aerial village.
Ground is expensive, Li Wei explains, gesturing to the narrow canyon walls. Air is free. My grandfather understood that the space between the mountains was the most valuable real estate of all.
Daily life here requires careful choreography. The morning commute involves crossing multiple suspension bridges. Shopping trips require careful weight distribution. Even taking out the trash becomes an exercise in balance and timing. The village operates as a single organism. Movement patterns are synchronized to prevent bridge overload. Construction projects require community coordination. Weather forecasting becomes a matter of survival. High winds mean everyone stays home. The skills required to maintain this village are passed down through generations. Children learn to tie traditional knots before they learn to read. Teenagers study load distribution and wind resistance. Adults can repair suspension cables while hanging 400 feet above a river. During monsoon season, the village transforms. Bridges are reinforced with additional cables. Houses are secured with extra anchors. The community becomes even more isolated as bridge crossings become too dangerous for outsiders. Perhaps most remarkably, this aerial village maintains traditional celebrations. Wedding ceremonies take place on the largest platform. Festival gatherings require careful planning to ensure bridge capacity isn't exceeded. Dancing happens 400 feet in the air. The village economy operates on unique principles. Weight restrictions limit what can be bought and sold. Transportation costs factor into every transaction. The most valuable commodity isn't gold or electronics. It's anything lightweight and essential. At night, the bridge village becomes a constellation suspended in darkness. Lights outline the bridge networks like glowing spider webs. Tomorrow, GPS satellites will pass overhead, registering only bridge infrastructure. They'll never know an entire community lives in the space between Earth and sky. But all of these impossible villages pale in comparison to our final destination. A place so hidden that its own government denies it exists. Deep in Bhutan's most restricted valleys lies a village that officially doesn't exist. No maps show it. No government records acknowledge it. Even GPS satellites seem to look the other way. This is Laya Village, or at least that's what the outside world calls the tourist village 50 miles south of here. The real Laya is hidden in a valley so remote, so culturally protected that visiting requires permissions from 3 different governments and approval from the village elders themselves. What makes this village impossible isn't its location, it's its existence outside modern systems. No birth certificates are issued here, no censuses count these residents, no tax records, no legal documents, no official acknowledgement that this community exists. Pema has lived here for 84 years and has never been counted by any government census. Her village of 47 families operates under traditional laws that predate modern Bhutan by centuries. They are Bhutanese citizens who live in a place Bhutan doesn't officially recognize.
The world outside changes too fast, Pema explains through our translator. We choose to remain invisible not because we fear change, but because we understand the value of what doesn't change.
This village operates under governance systems that are older than most nations. Decisions are made by consensus. Disputes are resolved by traditional mediation. Resources are shared according to customs that have worked for over 800 years. Their farming practices are so traditional, so sustainable, that modern environmentalists travel here to study ancient techniques. These farmers have maintained soil health for centuries without modern fertilizers. Their crop rotation systems prevent disease without pesticides. The village includes a monastery that appears on no religious registries. Monks here practice traditions that have been modified nowhere else in the Buddhist world. Their libraries contain texts that exist nowhere else on Earth. Economic independence makes invisibility possible. The village produces everything it needs: food, clothing, tools, medicine. Trade with the outside world is minimal and conducted through carefully maintained traditional relationships. Children here receive an education focused on traditional skills and knowledge. They learn to read the mountains, predict weather patterns, identify medicinal plants, and maintain traditional crafts. Modern subjects are taught, but traditional wisdom takes priority. Maintaining invisibility requires careful strategies. Outsiders are welcomed only through traditional protocols. Photography is restricted. Location details are never shared with unauthorized persons. Even this documentation required months of negotiation and cultural respect protocols. This isn't isolation born from fear. It's conscious choice. The village has electricity, satellite phones, and internet access. They know about the outside world. They choose to remain hidden because they understand something the modern world has forgotten: the value of places that exist outside systems. As evening falls, the village gathers for traditional ceremonies that have been performed in this exact location for over 800 years. No government officials are present. No permits were required. No records will be kept. This is life lived outside the documented world. Tonight, lights will glow in a valley that officially doesn't exist. Children will sleep in homes that appear on no property records. Families will live lives that no census will ever count. Subscribe for more hidden wonders that maps can't contain.